pieces cut out from the pattern, and the pattern will be underneath in the description underneath this video, what you need to do is take them to the iron, and this is going to take a while. It took me 10 minutes to do this because it's very, very fiddly. With the 2 front pieces, you need to fold them back a 1/2 inch, so fold it right back a 1/2 inch, and then turn that under a 1/4 inch and go all the way up and turn it all the way up like that, so it's all ironed underneath. You need to do that on both front pieces, and that it will be your actual front piece of the front pieces, okay? And then with your back piece, you're going to take it to the iron and you're going to just fold in a 1/2 inch around the neckline here, and then you're going to fold that 1/2 inch underneath so that you've got a 1/4 inch showing on the top, okay? And then with your piece, which is 28 by 2 inches, you're going to fold it in half first, and then you are going to take the 2 side pieces and you're going to fold those 2 into the middle. So fold that one in and iron it all the way along, and then fold that one in and iron that one all along, and that should give you a piece which is 1 inch by 28. So the next thing we're going to do is take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch all the way from right up here along down here and down here on the 2 front pieces, okay? And then we're going to stitch all the way around our neckline here, just like that, okay? So to stop mine from moving around, I've put a few pins in it just to hold it in place, and I've put my foot on, and I don't know if you can see, I've got my foot on so that I've got a piece of the fabric is behind the foot, because I want to start with this on under the foot, okay? And what we're going to do is going to run very close to this edge. I've got a 1/4 inch foot on it. You don't have to use a 1/4 inch foot, okay? I'm going to try and keep my hand out the way as much as I possibly can. Let's go. Just do a few stitches on, and then we'll do some back stitches. There we go. And then we're going to run all the way up. Take your time, just do it slowly, keeping it on that edge there. You can have your needle in the down position if you feel that makes it easier when you're taking the pins in and out. And this is just going to be a little one which just takes a little more time. My pins have all mostly dropped out, so that's great, isn't it? I'm just going to fold that there, okay. Right, there we go. Nice and straight. Try not to pull it, because it will pull into an odd shape if you pull it. As you can see, it's moving around all over the place. It's really slippery. And when you get to there, just do a small back stitch, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so do exactly the same on your other piece, and then we're going to take that to the iron and just press that flat. So I've just got this under my foot, and if your machine doesn't have a fast and slow, what you can do is just do 1 stitch at a time. Just press it a little bit so that you're getting just a couple of stitches at a time, so that because this is moving everywhere, you want to be really slow, okay? And I'm just going to do a little back stitch. Sorry. Okay, and then I'm going to come around and I'm going to make sure that that's going underneath all the way around. Just do it really slowly. And you want to try and keep it on the edge of your foot if you possibly can. If you find that it's not laying straight, just lift your foot and wiggle it around as you're going. I've got pins in mine, but they are falling out, so just get it to go in and around underneath that foot. the last bit. I'm just going to do a couple of back stitches there. And there you go. And that's your collar done. Those are the hardest two bits, okay? So once you have that done and you've ironed them, you're going to lay your back down so it's facing up. Then you're going to take your two front pieces and you're going to put them so that the right side is facing onto that back piece. And we're going to just lay them on top very carefully. Try not to pull it too much because you will pull it out of shape. That one. And this one. Just get these shoulders lined up here. And then what we're going to do, get it lined up as best you can. So it should look something like that. Okay, we are going to come across here and we're going to stitch across here and across here. I'm going to put some pins in, but as you know they are falling out quite a lot, so I'm going to put quite a few in. Maybe if I go down this way that might help. Put lots more in, just to hold that in place. I don't want any of it moving around. If you're worried about it, what you could do is a tacking stitch, a basting stitch in, and then remove that afterwards. If you're worried about getting it lined up absolutely straight, because as you can see it is moving around. But it is nice to have a go with this fabric and see, you know, that how it behaves. And this is a really cheap way of doing it, buying an old scarf and going for that sort of thing. So I'm pushing these in a nice far down. And I'm going to get that all lined up, and I'll do that on both sides, and then we will go to the sewing machine and stitch that in. Right, so just do that on the same other side as well, and then I'll come to the sewing machine. When you pick it up, be as careful as you can. I've put mine underneath and I've slipped my hand underneath. As you can see, one of the pins have come out already. And just be really, really careful as you're popping it under that foot. We're going to take a little piece of the fabric and we're going to put it under that foot. Needles down, sorry. Okay, why won't it go down? Put it under that foot. We're going to come under about 1/2 inch or so. Line it up how you want it, because then we're going to do a back stitch, because I want to make sure I'm on that fabric to start off with. Okay, so I'm just going to come on, I'm going to do 2 stitches forward and then I'm going to go back. Just take your time. Right, okay, and then I'm going to come forward again now, keeping that as flat as I possibly can. I'm trying not to stretch this at all. I'm trying to just let the machine do it all. That pin into the very last minute, and then I'm going to do it, whip that one out, and 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we're going to do some back stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's that side done. Do exactly the same with the other side. So once you've done that, you've got both those seams at the top done, we're going to just come to over here and we're going to go to a zigzag stitch. Okay, so we're just going to run along now, making sure that you've got both pieces together. So once you've done that, just go across and neaten up any loose ends you have, okay? And then we are going to put in our arm hose. So when you get to the arm hose, what you want to do is take your ruler and just measure from where that seam line is there and come down 4 inches, and then I put a twisted pin in there. Can you see that? put 2 pins in there so that knows that's where I've got to stop, exactly on that line, and do exactly the same on this line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a little pencil mark just so that I can see if these two do fall out, that I got a little tiny pencil mark on the end there. Okay, so I can just see that. So then we're going to take it to the sewing machine, and we're just going to stitch a straight stitch all the way down, do a back stitch here, straight down, and do a back stitch to finish off there. I won't show you that because obviously it's just a straight stitch. So we're going to take it to the iron, and we're just going to lay it down on the iron like that on our piece of cardboard with our 1/2 inch and our 1/4 inch on it. We're going to iron it so that it lays so it's on that 1/2 inch like that. And then once you've done that, take your iron and fold it back in under itself so it sits in under just like that all the way along that 4 inches. Okay. So now you have your back piece here, like that, and you've got your 2 top pieces like that. And what you want to do next is to come along and join your 2 side pieces here. Okay, so you're going to come along where that 4 inches is finished. There, pop a pin in. Or 2, I found that pinning it, and you might like to try this, like that, seemed to help a bit. And then we're going to come all the way along, and we're just going to do a straight stitch right down from that actual piece there, straight the way down to the end. Okay, keeping those 2 pieces together at the end, making sure it keeps lined up, and we're going to stitch it at a 1/4 inch on that 1/4 inch foot. So I've got it under my foot, and I'm just going to come really slowly along, keeping it at this 1/4 inch. You can put pins in this if you want to before you start to keep it from moving, but as you know, they're just falling out, so I'm just going to try and be much slower and keep that lined up. And do a back stitch to finish. I didn't do a back stitch up there, so I'm just going to go back and do a back stitch there. Make sure you do your back stitch when you come onto that sleeve piece. I was concentrating on doing the other bit. Where is it? Yeah. Once you've done that, then just come along and do a zigzag all the way down the side here, but make sure you change, if you're using a 1/4 inch foot, make sure you change to wide mouth foot before you do your zigzag, and do exactly the same on the other side. Okay, so this is the next piece of fabric which we've got, and this piece is the whole of the width of my scarf, and mine was I think it was 34, yeah, 35 actually, 35, but it doesn't need to be that big. You can be whatever your scarf is. So all I've done is I've taken it to the iron, and I've taken the 2 sides, and I fold it in half like that. Okay, and then once I've done that, I've opened it up, and I folded this piece into the middle and pressed it down. And then I folded that piece into the middle and pressed that down. And once you've got that pressed all the way along to the end, you're going to take the 2 ends and you're going to fold those in half again. Then we're going to come and put a straight stitch right the way along here, all the way to the end. So I put it a good way underneath my foot because I want to cut off that end bit where it was stitched, and I'm just going to come and stitch down here, but I'm going to put a back stitch. So I'm just going to come in, oh, put my cotton with me, silly thing, right. So I'm just going to come right down and then do a back stitch here. That's it. I'm going to go all the way to the end, keeping it just so that I'm catching it right here on this very edge. So now what you want to do is just take that very end and keep it as close to the end as you can. go. And then you're just going to get your fingers and you're just going to pull this until you get a nice frayed edge coming up there. It should fray all the way back really nicely. Like that. So you should get a nice edge. I just wanted it to look a little bit more frayed and sort of like it's been sort of used there. There you go. So you've got that nice frayed edge on it. You don't have to do that. If you didn't want to do that, you could just turn that under. I just like the idea of it being frayed like that there. And then when you've got it, just make sure that's reasonably even. There we go. And that's my frayed edge on that one. And I'll do exactly the same on the other side. And there it is. It's looking really nice. I'm really pleased with it. It's come out really well. So it's all together and it's looking really good.